television's original automotive magazine. Your host for Motorweek, John Davis.
In the world of sport utility vehicles, they don't come much bigger than the Ford Expedition. This big bruiser gives you a commanding view of the road and enough room for mountains of cargo. But as incredible as it may seem, the Expedition is not Ford's biggest 4x4. Check off the right option box at your local Ford dealer, and you can have one of these, the Quigley Super Track van. Just think of it as the Expedition's bigger brother. Now, you've probably never heard of the Quigley Motor Company, but this small Pennsylvania outfit has been manufacturing four-wheel drive, full-size van conversions for 24 years, with nearly 7,000 sold to date. Back in 1975, when Bill Quigley was selling RVs and renting trucks, he began to get requests for something that just wasn't available, a go-anywhere 4x4 van. Well, he hit the drawing board, and soon was born the beast you see here, variably known as the Quadra version or Super Track van. Starting with a 1/2, 3/4, or 1-ton full-size van from either Ford or GM, the folks at Quigley have designed a rugged four-wheel drive system based around top-quality Dana axle and Borg-Warner transfer case components. The front suspension is a live axle setup located by 4 control arms. Quigley's homegrown design allows use of the factory coil springs within the stock frame structure. The rear suspension is an unmodified solid axle leaf spring arrangement. Making room for all that hardware and no doubt adding to the purposeful look of the vehicle is an increase in ride height, 3 inches up front and 4 inches in the rear. Surprisingly, though, this does not make for a clumsy, tipsy off-roader. Despite having nearly 10 inches of ground clearance, this Ford Econoline-based Quigley never feels unstable or top-heavy when the going gets rough. Now, our off-roading was limited to some rutted construction sites that, while far from challenging, did give a good indication of our testers' abilities. The stiff suspension was a bit jarring over the bumps, but this is a 1-ton setup and was never exactly smooth to begin with. Steering bind and wheel travel are on a par with big factory 4x4s like the Dodge Ram. Visually, the Quigley is distinguished from other vans most noticeably by its tall stance. You don't just step up to enter, you leap. Thankfully, the integrated running boards are as functional as they are attractive. Also setting the Quigley apart is a handsome set of American racing wheels wearing beefy 16-inch all-terrain tires. The fronts feature manual locking hubs. This Econoline body style has been around for a few years now, but it is still handsome and even with an overall length of over 19 feet, maintains a balanced look. Inside, the Super Track has none of the usual conversion van styling add-ons. Aside from the four-wheel drive shifter sticking out of the floor and a small indicator light on the dash, this is a stock Ford Econoline wagon. And that's certainly okay with us, as the Ford probably has the best interior layout of the big vans. The cloth-upholstered buckets are comfortable for long trips, while the big rear benches can accommodate a seemingly infinite number of adults, or can be easily removed to carry bulky items. The comprehensive gauge cluster and simple controls allow the driver to stay focused on the job of driving, a good idea when you're sitting this high off the road. Despite respectable visibility, care must still be taken to avoid running over small animals and compact cars. Driving the Quigley around town is no big chore, however. Aside from a somewhat vague on-center steering feel, you'd be hard-pressed to find any difference between this and a regular full-size van, except perhaps in the length of your trips. In order to accommodate the extra running gear, Quigley has had to shorten the fuel tank, dropping capacity to a still big 29 gallons. But with our van's 12.3 miles per gallon economy, you might find yourself passing fewer gas stations than you'd like. Output from the stock 5.4-liter single overhead cam V8 stands at 235 horsepower and a healthy 335 pound-feet of torque. We found it perfectly adequate for most situations. Now those who tow may want to choose the more powerful gas V10 or turbo diesel V8 options. Opting for a Quigley Super Track van won't leave you high and dry in terms of maintenance, though, as the company guarantees its four-wheel drive system with the same 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty that Ford offers for the basic van. It's this generous warranty and the high-quality parts used throughout that accounts for the Quigley's corresponding high price. That's still less than the average four-wheel drive Chevy Suburban or Ford Expedition, and neither of those can match the Quigley for hauling people or cargo. While sales to commercial outfits like Federal Express remain their core market, roughly 40% of these vans will find their way to appreciative hunters and fishermen who want to stand above the crowd. We applaud Quigley for finding and filling these interesting niche segments. And now that we've experienced these two fine conversions, we can't help but wonder what they'll come up with next.
For more information, contact Quigley Motor Company, manufacturer of four-wheel drive systems, at 1-800-233-9358 or www.Quigley4x4.com.